So this guy's out talking to his neighbor, and his neighbor is sharing his frustrations with memory loss. And the guy says, "Oh, you know what? We were having a hard time with our memory too, and we went to see this specialist that helped us out, showed us what to do, changed everything. Man, this guy is great. You got to go see him." Neighbor's like, "Well, what's his name?" And the guy goes, "Oh, what's the name of that flower that usually it's kind of red petals, really pretty, used at Valentine's a lot. It's got thorns on the side of the stem, usually it's kind of a long stem." Neighbor goes, "Oh, you mean a rose?" Guy goes, "Yes. Hey, Rose, what was the name of that guy we went to see for our memory?" Today, we're going to be looking at remembering names, why it's not always your fault. I was at an event recently where I met this girl. She told me her name was Marina. And my brain paused, and before anything else happened, she goes, like the boat dock. Now, in my head is forever attached this lady and a boat dock. I will never forget her name because she gave me the gift of a slight extra piece of information. You might have experienced something similar in your own struggles or celebrations with memory. I bet, without Googling, you probably cannot tell me the capital of Lithuania. However, I bet you can tell me the capital of the state that you grew up in. Part of the difference is the associations that are attached to the state that you grew up in. You've got memories there, you've got stories there, you've got experiences there. You remember this house and this location and this restaurant where this happened and this tree where you saw this and this vacation where you took this. You have so many things attached to it. When you think of that state, you're not just thinking of a random fact that you needed for a 5th grade geography test. You're thinking of all of the memories and associations and events that are attached to that. And that's something that I want us to look at today, that memory increases, at least it becomes more robust the more things that we attach to it. When I'm doing memory and grade and school studying seminars for kids, I can get them to remember a random string of numbers, 20 random numbers. They can do it and they study it, learn it in about a minute. 2 weeks later, I can call them up and they can spit back the exact same string of random numbers. Incredibly difficult, but they do it because I show them how to attach extra pieces of information to make it easier for the brain to store it. So with that little bit, you meet somebody at a party, give them your name, and then give them an extra piece of information that makes your name unique. So let's look at what's going on behind the scenes when you meet that person and you're frustrated with yourself because you didn't remember their name. Well, one thing that we know about psychology is there's this thing called the next in line effect. And what the next in line effect states is that you are less likely to remember what the person said right before it was your turn to talk. You're going around in a circle, you remember what this person said, you remember what this person said, but the person who spoke right before you, you can't remember what they said. Reason is, sad but true, oftentimes when we are in a conversation with somebody, we're not listening to what they're saying, we're listening to what we're about to say next. And this is one of the reasons that you don't remember the name of that person you just met. I guarantee that you probably didn't hear the name. When they opened their mouth to share their name, your brain shut off because it was looking at what you were about to say next. That's one of the social cues. Somebody gives their name, you give your name. You weren't listening to their name, you were listening to you about to be sharing your name. So first just notice, odds are you probably didn't hear it because of the next in line effect. Now the next thing that we need to look at in remembering somebody's name is the generation effect. And the generation effect states that we are more likely to remember information that we generated. If you were in grade school, you probably remember the poem that you wrote better than the poem that you memorized. Because when we create the content, we're more likely to value it, more likely to remember it. This is why people who put together IKEA furniture put put a higher price tag on it if they have to sell it on eBay because they assembled it. It was theirs. They put their love and joy and passion into it versus a piece of furniture that they bought pre-assembled. So with the generation effect, what you do is when you leave the event, I want you to write down the names of the people that you met while you were there. Just write the names down. You put it in your phone calendar or whatever. Then there's the immediacy effect. This has to do with how often you need the information, when you need the information, and also when you generated the information. So when somebody gives you their name, the first thing I want you to do is to use their name in a sentence right away. John, where'd your parents come up with that name? So you're using it and you're asking a question. That question is going to get you more information. Speaking of which, more information. You're at an event, you meet somebody, and you want to remember their name, but you're battling how your brain's wired to shut off because you're about to speak next, and how your brain's wired because you didn't write it down yet. You got all these things working against you, but you still want to remember your name. Here's what you do. When they give you their name, immediately I want you to call up in your mind somebody else you know who shares the same name. By doing so, you're increasing the network of information and events and experiences and memories that are attached to that. The more different things that are attached to it, the easier it is for your brain to store it, to recall it, come back to it's more robust. Kind of the difference between the capital of Lithuania and the capital of the state that you grew up in. So think of somebody else that you already know who has the same name. If you don't know anybody who has the same name, then you can ask them, hey, isn't there a celebrity that's got that name? Are you charging them rent to use your name? You can go ahead and ask them, get that extra piece. Oh, yeah, you think that person in the movie. It's another great way to remember somebody's name. Okay, so in review, odds are you didn't hear their name. Second thing is there's not enough information attached to their name, so think of somebody else. Third thing is use it in a question or be sure to write it down before you leave the party. I'll see you at the next video.